Treasures from Juniper Ridge. The profound treasure instructions of Padmasambhava to the Dakini Yeshe Tsogyal. The Empowerment for Awareness Display. The explanation of the Empowerment for Awareness Display from the unimpeded realization of Samantabhadra. To Samantabhadra and Vajrasattva, to Prahevajra and Manju Sri Mitra, to Sri Singha and all the other masters, to the lineage masters of the three Kayas, I pay homage. The great master bearing the name Lotus-born, whose body is untainted by the flaws of a womb, whose radiant manifestation was born from a self-appeared lotus flower, is the victorious king of the wrathful ones, conqueror of the four Maras, whose bodily form is like a Vajra, unchanging and indestructible. This mighty king, attainer of the marvelous supreme accomplishment, was invoked by the compassion of the Dharmakaya Buddhas and empowered by all the Sambhogakaya Buddhas. Then, when all the Nirmanakaya Buddhas conferred together, he appeared as the regent of Buddha Shakyamuni on the Jambu continent that lies on the southern side of Mount Sumeru. He taught disciples in the 8 great charnel grounds, served as the regent on the Vajra throne of India, and by the power of former vows, he arrived in the snowy land of Tibet, causing the teachings of the Buddha to spread and flourish. Later on, in the cavern of Samye Chimpu, he conferred the 4 empowerments in completeness upon King Trisong Detsen and Lady Tsogyal, the Princess of Karchen. It was at this time that the king and lady saw wonderful signs and gained the warmth of practice, so that out of faith and devotion they made this request. Please listen, Great Master. What is the meaning when, at the beginning, one is conferred empowerment with attributes and articles, including the vase within the mandala of colored powder? The master replied, Listen here, King and Lady of Karchen. All the teachings of the truly and completely awakened ones are taught in 3 ways: expedient meaning, covert intent, and definitive meaning. Among these, the expedient meaning has the purpose of skillfully guiding sentient beings with incorrect perception to the higher realms. The covert intent is when a bodhisattva uses his ingenuity as a method for liberating beings from samsara's sufferings. The definitive meaning has 3 progressive stages. As the fruition of all the teachings of the lower vehicles, the view of the middle way, free of focus, is to settle into a state free of limits. What the sutra followers call absence of conceptualizing is to settle into the state that is free of perceiver and perceived. Up to this point, there is no actual conferring of empowerment other than a mere sign or indication. According to all the tantras of secret mantra, one is conferred the vase empowerment. To take the view of emptiness as fruition purifies the obscuration of karma, and to be given the vase empowerment opens up the doorway for the inner part of secret mantra, the 5 wisdoms that are indicated through words. Thus it is a symbolic empowerment. This vase empowerment is the very first empowerment. It enables you to purify the obscuration of disturbing emotions, opens the door for the profound teachings, and is the occasion for being empowered to cultivate the Yidam deity and practice the sadhana. Its result is to become capable of mastering everything belonging to the vessel and its contents. Thus he spoke. Again they asked, Please listen, Great Master. At the time of the secret empowerment, why does one need to train in the channels and winds? The master spoke. Listen here, King and Tsogyal. Within the Dharmadhatu of Akanishta, the Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya, and that which we call the mandala of wisdom experience, do not consist of a material body, so they have no channels based on the self-existing body of wisdom, but rather a sphere of the 5 lights of natural radiance. They have no karmic winds, but are endowed with the 4 wisdom winds. Their bodily form is unchanging, their speech is unceasing, and their minds remain in the unmoving state of equality. For them, there is no need for the secret empowerment, since means and knowledge are non-dual. In the Nirmanakaya, even though it has a physical form that is like a magical illusion, the wisdom channel has great strength, and the wisdom wind has great force. So the Nirmanakaya has no defilement of disturbing emotions. Thus it turns into a wisdom body by simply being shown the symbolic secret empowerment. In sentient beings who have a form produced through ignorance, the channels of disturbing emotions have great strength, the karmic wind has great force, and the wisdom channels and winds require skill to be found. Therefore, it is most important to train in the channels and winds. When one has trained, ignorance subsides into a latent state, and the channels of disturbing emotions become refined. And when the karmic winds are purified, the entire body becomes the wisdom mandala. Therefore, this training in the channels and winds is very important. Training in the channels and winds while in the human body transforms it into the wisdom body. In the 3 lower realms, the wisdom channel and wisdom wind lie latent, so that there is no path of liberation. The bodies of most animals face downward, and therefore they have the channels and winds for being dull and mute. The bodies of most hungry ghosts are horizontal, and therefore they have the channels and winds for craving. The bodies of most hell beings are head down, so they have the channels and winds for agony. Therefore, beings in the 3 lower realms are not suitable vessels for the pith instructions. In the human body, 1/4 of the channels and winds belong to the wisdom type, so persevere in training your channels and winds. Thus he spoke. Again they asked, "Please listen, Great Master. At the time of being conferred the wisdom knowledge empowerment, what is the meaning of promoting the pure essence elements?" The Master spoke. "Listen here, King and Tsogyal. The meaning of wisdom knowledge is that the karmic winds of disturbing emotions are purified by training the channels and winds, so that the winds move evenly within the empty channels, which gives rise to the experience of emptiness. That is called knowledge. At that time, there are various methods for promoting the essence elements, such as relying on nutritious food, wearing soft, warm garments, using the enjoyment of beautiful ornaments, making use of auspicious gemstones, and keeping a gorgeous companion. By means of these, one should, just like a spring flowing forth in any dry valley, exert oneself in the methods that promote the pure essence elements. Without letting it dissipate like water in a bad place, one should instead, like letting the water flow together to fill a nice pool from which one can irrigate the 4 directions, guide the pure essence elements upward. This will block the channels of disturbing emotions, suppress the karmic winds, and advance all the channels and winds of wisdom. The indestructible bindu of the life force in the heart center supports the wisdom mandala. When leading the pure essences, it will promote all good qualities so that your body is full of color and radiance, your voice speaks in a way that produces joy, and your mind becomes serenely free from thought. At that time, If you connect this with profound pith instructions, the stage of no return requires no effort. Even if you leave it to yourself, even if you leave it to itself, when passing from this life, you will take rebirth in the realm of the 33 gods. In this way, you become capable of the actions and activities that bring forth wisdom by means of the bindus. If the yogi who practices this path of the wisdom-knowledge empowerment does not possess empowerment and practice, he will not perfect the qualities of the path and levels. Thus he spoke. Again they asked, "Please listen, Great Master. Please explain in detail the meaning of pointing out that the nature of one's mind is Dharmakaya, when conferring all 4 empowerments in completeness." The Master spoke. Listen here, King and Tsogyal. In general, all the experiences belonging to samsara and nirvana are the unity of appearance and emptiness, while the empty quality is predominant. This entire world, above and below and in the cardinal and intermediate directions, is within the empty expanse of space. In between, the earth, mountains, and rocks all perish and become empty in the end. The phases of the moon and the changing of the 4 seasons are also signs of being empty. All sentient beings and life forms are born and die as well. Compared to the beings who obtain a physical body, a great many more don't have one. Moreover, attaining nirvana means being liberated within the Dharmadhatu space of emptiness. In this way, everything becomes empty, and so all that appears and exists is the state of emptiness. Therefore, do not be attached and do not cling to duality. Without being attached to anything whatsoever, remain in the continuity of the great all-pervasive state of realizing emptiness that belongs to no category whatsoever. Let it be in the state that is free from mental constructs. Be certain that emptiness is the essence of most teachings. From the very beginning, that is the special quality of the intended view. If you fail to understand the meaning of emptiness, you will involve yourself in clinging to the perceived objects of the 6 collections and continue to roam in samsara. If you gain certainty about the nature of emptiness, you interrupt samsara's stream, and delusion is completely purified. On the other hand, if, rather than true emptiness, you stray into the idea of emptiness, or fail to understand the state of equality, and instead dissipate into a state of indolence, there is no straying more severe than such mistaken emptiness. Rely, therefore, on a master for the key point of profound instructions, and persevere in the practice. Thus he spoke. Again they asked, "Please listen, Great Master. Please explain to us in detail the meaning of conferring the most supreme among all empowerments, the empowerment to awareness display, as well as the key points of practice, and the meaning of gaining mastery over awareness." The Master spoke. Listen here, King and Tsogyal. One undertakes the 4 empowerments mentioned above progressively. One journeys through the levels and paths in succession, and is not able to awaken instantaneously. The teachings on the gradual path are taught by the Nirmanakayas for the sake of sentient beings. The empowerment for awareness display is taught by the Buddhas, who are by nature spontaneously perfected, and sending out compassionate emanations from the Dharmadhatu of Akanishta, they teach it for the sake of instantaneously awakening those who are of the highest fortune. It is therefore not possible to attain Buddhahood without having received the empowerment to awareness display. All the Buddhas of the past awakened after receiving the empowerment to awareness display. Everyone who presently attains enlightenment also awakens after receiving the empowerment to awareness display. And every Buddha who attains enlightenment in the future will also awaken after having received the empowerment to awareness display. It is impossible to attain enlightenment unless you have obtained it. Samaya, seal, seal, seal. Signs and levels of progress. From Padmasambhava's Great Single Cut of Complete Liberation, revealed by Rinchen Lingpa. Homage to the Blessed Wisdom Deity of Awareness. Without these signs and levels of progress on the path that surely show when results have been obtained, in great perfection's innermost and total freedom, you are no different from an ordinary person, and your practice is wasted. Since your diligence wanes when signs of practice fail to appear, this text, describing them, is of utmost importance. My child, here are the signs of the path for the person who trains in Dharmata. When a person practices with perseverance, there are two types of signs of the path, indefinite and definite, which indicate that the result will be swiftly attained. The indefinite are known as basic signs and appear due to one's previous connection, even without having practiced. As they are unreliable, I will not describe them here. The definite signs appear due to practicing, and they are of two types, temporary and unchanging. The temporary signs can appear in actuality or as moods. The first kind occurs when doing the preliminaries and the separation practices, and your body feels at the brink of collapse, like the walls of a house in shambles. Your voice feels worn out, like when exhausted, or you convulse like someone possessed. These indicate that you have separated samsara and nirvana. The moods are disenchantment with the samsaric body, speech, and mind. They indicate having purified the obscurations of the three realms and separated from samsara. Their absence indicates not having gained experience, so repeat the practice. The actual signs, based on the fatigue of body, speech, and mind, are that your body is blissful, your voice wants to speak out, and your mind experiences everything as space. You feel, now nothing exists, as well as compassion for beings who fail to realize the same as you, and enthusiasm for the Dharma will also arise. As moods, you forget that you have a body. You don't notice your breathing, and mentally you don't want to part from the state of non-thought, thinking, this is it. These are the signs of having taken hold of the nirvanic type of mental stability. Their absence indicates not being well trained, so exert yourself and continue. All these are only temporary signs. They change and are not reliable. Next are the signs of the main practice, namely the signs of having established rigpa, in actuality through the view. The actual signs are feeling disenchantment with body, speech, and mind in a way that is visible to both you and others, and also having no interest in the activities of this life. Your voice is like that of a mute. Mentally, you are tired of samsaric affairs. You feel a profound devotion for your guru, and a compassion for all beings wells up, so that tears flow. There is trust in the consequence of actions, and you exert yourself in giving up misdeeds and practicing virtue. The mood signs include lightness of body, at times even forgetting that you have a body, not noticing your breath's movement, and mentally feeling that everything is insubstantial and evanescent. All these signs change and don't last. The signs of lasting value are the following. Within the expansive space of the view, when awareness is utterly laid bare, without fluctuations, and doesn't project experience as being other, that is the sign of having anchored awareness within Dharmata. The mood signs of having understood this are that, no matter where your attention moves, you understand and realize that it is your own mind. You see that thoughts are projected and return as self-display, and you understand that they are completely insubstantial, like space. These are the signs of having established, through the view, that appearances are mind. To recognize this, even while dreaming, is the sign of having reached the fullest degree of steadiness. If you sustain this, in 7 years you will awaken to the state of nirmanakaya with the vanishing of your material body. If you do not recognize while dreaming, you will awaken at death. Therefore, to persevere in the practice is the conduct of the foremost type of person. Now come the signs of experiencing the state of realization in actuality. In your body, speech, and mind, the actual signs are that your body is light and energetic. Your voice is clear and able to express teachings you have never even heard, and at times your mind has some degree of clairvoyance. You see everything lucidly as rainbows, sometimes full of bodily forms and circles, sometimes becoming void and without reference points. As devotion to your guru grows even deeper, and your concern for karmic consequences becomes more relaxed, you feel that your body emits light. At times your body is absent, your voice speaks unintentionally like an echo, and your mind is clear and blissful, and does not project anything. Now and then it turns void and forms no thoughts. All these occurrences change and cannot be relied on. The unchanging signs are the following. There is no longer any experience in which you cling to a solid reality. Instead, everything is sheer, luminous display. Everything appears, but there is no solid reference point or clinging. To realize this is the sign of having established, through experience in training, that mind itself is empty. To experience this, even while dreaming, is to have reached the fullest degree of steadiness. If you sustain this, in 3 years, the material body will vanish, and you will awaken to the state of Sambhogakaya's intangible wisdom body. Next comes a sign that this emptiness is spontaneously and effortlessly liberated in itself. Regarding body, speech, and mind, the signs in actuality are that there is no attachment to a body, such as being unafraid of water. Moreover, previously unseen marks of excellence can be witnessed by both you and others. Your voice can express beneficial Dharma teachings by simply directing your will toward others. In your mind, untainted clairvoyance arises. The signs as meditation moods are that you neither remember nor even think of clinging to your body, speech, and mind, that whatever you experience is spacious and not taken as real, and that you feel as if you can move freely through rock, mountains, and the like. The unchanging signs are the following. No matter what you experience, there is neither any conceptual focus nor any attempt to accept or reject. Rather, it is liberated without being assumed to be real, so that, whether day or night, and without needing to remember it, appearance and emptiness are naturally liberated into non-duality. That is the sign of having established self-liberation through spontaneous conduct. When the delusion of dreaming ends, you have reached the fullest degree of steadiness. If you sustain this, in 1 year the material body will vanish, and you awaken to the state of Dharmakaya without remainder. Then the sign that this self-liberation is brought to consummation, the fruition of spontaneous presence, appears only in others' perception, whereas in your personal perception, all kinds of signs and indications of progress on the path have ceased. This state, known as the vision of exhaustion in Dharmata, means that the moving force of appearances has ceased, while the still quality of emptiness is no longer. Thus, the non-dual nature of appearance and emptiness neither fluctuates nor changes in any way whatsoever. Instead, there is a naturally awake quality that transcends meeting and separation, an unfabricated presence, an absence without any dismantling, which is an utterly naked state of aware emptiness free of clinging. In others' perceptions, since an unobstructed knowledge, original wakefulness as an all-pervasive capacity is also present, there is an effortless unfolding of form bodies, rupakayas, for the welfare of beings. Accordingly, as the basic nature of things is all-pervasive, unless the signs on the path of self-existing wakefulness have reached their fullest degree, there is no understanding of when the time of the spontaneously present fruition has arrived, and the practice becomes smug and lazy. This manual of signs and levels of progress is therefore of utmost importance. Without it, your attachment to emptiness is no different from that of the general vehicles. With it, the fruition will quickly be reached to fulfill the aims of you and others. Through Vajrasattva's blessings, it rose in Prahivatra's heart. He accepted Sri Singha, who then entrusted it to me, Padmasambhava. May it meet with a worthy person of karmic destiny. Hide it from an unworthy person with wrong views. When a suitable recipient appears, bestow the ultimate lineage. The scripture lineage has the seal of strictness. Pema, this amazing, sublime teaching, the quintessence of mind terma concealed in Ludu's belly, is entrusted to the care of Gumpo Nakpo, Palchen, the Dakinis, and to the wrathful Dharmapalas, teaching guardians and treasure lords. Safeguard it, be sure you protect these teachings. Samaya, seal, seal, seal. Sava Mangalam. Advice on attaining enlightenment at the moment of death. Once again, at this same time, the king prostrated himself and made circumambulations around Padmasambhava. Then he asked the master, "Great master, I am a king of little faith, but of great wealth and fame, and am surrounded by ministers who are opposed and hostile to the Dharma. I am not a good person, but rather evil. I am fond of diversions and enjoyments, and not spiritual in the least. I am only keen on the things of this life, and do not even fear the prospect of going to the lower realms in the next life. Please take pity on me. I beg you to bestow upon me an instruction for attaining enlightenment at the time of death." After saying this, he bowed his head with great devotion and wept. The master considered him, and extracting his most essential advice, bestowed the following. Ma ho. It is most wonderful that you have faith felt from the bottom of your heart. Your Majesty, do not be fearful of the time of death. I have an instruction for the short path of secret mantra, by which even a great sinner can attain enlightenment before others. It is an instruction for avoiding the bardo. So listen here, Your Majesty. First we entered the womb due to the incidence of our unknowing and by the power of karma. Next we remain for a short time on this earth. In the end we will die, and this body will lie on the ground while the mind travels on by the force of karma. The mind will assume another body among the 6 classes of beings, and so continue to roam samsara. Even if we succeed in living out a full life of 100 years, we spend half of it by sleeping at night like a corpse. While dreaming, we undergo a multitude of joys and sorrows. So at best, our waking hours add up to no more than 50 years. Before we took birth from our mother, death was our natural possession. Yet even so, people don't remember their death and engage in the various actions of passion and aggression as if they were immortal. Death does not come at an announced time. When it will befall you is not certain. There are many ways to die, so the day will come when death is unavoidable. Listen here, Your Majesty. There are 3 ways to die: superior, middling, and inferior. To die like a king is when someone like you dies still attached to his domain and possessions. That is the inferior way to die. At the moment of death, be free from attachment. To die like a beggar is to die without the slightest attachment to goods and utensils. That is the middling way to die. There is also the way known as dying like a mountain deer. To die in solitude, utterly free of even the notion of attachment or clinging, is the foremost way to die. Listen here, Your Majesty. At the time of death, there are 3 ways to attain enlightenment. The person of lesser capacity has gathered the accumulations of merit and wisdom and attains enlightenment in the following life. The person of medium capacity has become familiar with the training and attains enlightenment in the bardo. The person of the foremost capacity has gained realization and awakens to enlightenment without going through the bardo. This specific instruction is for attaining enlightenment without going through the bardo. It is the short path of secret mantra. I will teach you this root instruction in 3 points. Resolve the root of the identity of all outer perceived objects to be the identity of space. Thus you empty the outer 6 worlds and are free from the root of a birthplace among the 6 classes of beings. Resolve the root of the identity of the inner perceiver to be the identity of empty and cognizant mind. Thus you empty the womb doors of the inner contents of beings and are free from the root of every type of rebirth. Resolve the root of phenomena by realizing that ignorance never arose. Thus you will be free from the root of good and evil. This was the instruction in 3 points. The king asked, "Great Master, how do I resolve the root of the outer perceived objects to be the identity of space? How do I become free from the root of a birthplace among the 6 classes in the outer vessel-like world?" The master replied, "Your Majesty, listen here. What does outer perceived objects refer to? The present appearances include 10 million times 1 billion worlds of Mount Sumeru with 4 continents. In our experience, they are seen as earth and the stones, mountains and rocks, trees, plants and forests. They belong to mistaken perceptions of unrealized beings. The scripture of the embodiment of the realization mentions, Even the sole identity of a thing can be seen in 6 mistaken and 1 true way. The erroneous are of 2 kinds. Take, for example, water. Gods see it as nectar, demigods as weaponry, humans as water, animals as drink, hungry ghosts as rotten pus and blood, and hell beings as boiling liquid copper. In reality, it is none of these. Thus, there are 6 mistaken views. 2 perspectives are to be regarded as erroneous. Eternalistic extremists claim that cause and effect are both permanent, so that a man who dies is reborn a man, a horse again as a horse, and so forth. The nihilistic extremists allege that the body is assimilated into the 4 elements, and that mind is assimilated into space, that present events are inconsequential, and that there is no rebirth after dying. Both of these are erroneous conceptions. Well then, what is the actual case? It is that phenomena are nothing whatsoever and totally free of anything to be held in mind. As for these present appearances of stones and rocks, mountains and forests, trees and plants, and so forth, do not believe them to be anything at all, and do not assert them to be anything at all. Do not deny what appears, and do not assert them to be or not to be. Their appearance is a natural appearance, and their emptiness is a natural emptiness. Like the identity of space, let their identity be naturally empty, and let their appearance be devoid of a self-nature. When you don't apprehend the appearance of these objects, you give rise to neither clinging nor attachment. Thus you cut through the root of the outer vessel-like world. Being free of rebirth within the 6 classes of beings, you have emptied the 6 causes. Why is that? It is because the experience of the 6 classes of beings is a delusion. Being free of this delusion, the appearance of their objects will be nowhere to see. The king asked, "What is meant by resolving the root of the inner perceiving mind as the identity of empty cognizance?" The master replied, "Your Majesty, listen here. Having resolved that the root of the inner perceiving mind is empty cognizance, and having emptied the womb door for the mind within, is known as being free from the root of rebirth. What is meant by inner perceiving mind? It includes the mind within, parents and companions, siblings and offspring, enemies and friends. Well then, what is the perceiver itself? It is the mind endowed with emotions. When resolving what it is, this mind cannot be proven to be anything whatsoever, nor is it a complete nothingness. When not realized, this all-doing mind causes you disaster. When this mind, the thinker of disruptive thoughts, is realized and resolved, it is an unconfined cognizance. This is known as realizing mind essence. That it cannot be proved to be anything whatsoever is known as Dharma Dhatu, the basic space of all things. Though cognizant, it is a cognizance that is unconfined. Though perceiving, it is an emptiness that cannot be proved to be anything whatsoever. When you don't apprehend perceived objects as father or mother, you have exhausted clinging as the cause and attachment as the condition. Thus you have no fear of rebirth through the womb doors of the 6 classes of beings. The king asked, "It is necessary to realize the non-arising of ignorance. What is meant by non-arising?" The master replied, To know that mind essence cannot be proved to have any identity whatsoever, and is totally free of constructed attributes, is called knowing arising as knowledge. This is also called recognizing oneself by oneself. This is also called realizing the truth of non-arising. In fact, it is to be resolved about your true essence. Thus you are free from the karmic phenomena of good and evil. No matter how much good you have created, you are free of hoping for the result of Buddhahood, and no matter how much evil you have done, you are free from fear of the lower realms and the hells. In that realization, there is neither karma nor the ripening of karma. This is not a fantasy, a belief, or a fabrication. It is affirmed in all the noble proclamations, as in the extensive Prajna Paramita. In that empty nature of all phenomena, there is neither karma nor ripening of karma. Furthermore, the 150 Mode states, just as the bright red lotus flower is untainted by any impurity, the empty nature of all things remains untainted by the defects of karma. The Great Expanse mentions, if it is subject to karma, it is not the self-existing wisdom. The Vajrayana Mansion states, self is devoid of self. Other is devoid of other. The both is devoid of both. The neither, too, is devoid of neither. The neither is devoid of boundlessness. This is because they are untrue and mentally fabricated. The sutra requested by Wisdom Ocean states, these Mahayana sutras are unlike the ways of the world. Why is that? It is because all sentient beings have no continuous duration. This being so, when you recognize that everything is your mind's delusion, you have resolved the nature of things and are free from the root of good and evil. The king asked, Great Master, how do I awaken to enlightenment at the time of death without going through the bardo? The master replied, Your Majesty, listen here. The yogi of highest mental acumen does not apprehend outer perceived objects. Therefore, he cuts through misconceptions about appearances, and letting appearances dissolve in themselves, he experiences no perceived objects in the bardo. Thus, an outer vessel-like world does not arise. As inner perceiving mind has no identity that can be proved in any way whatsoever, samsara dissolves in itself. Having no mental body in the bardo, the womb doors to the 6 classes of beings are emptied. Being free from causes for rebirth, dharmata dissolves in itself. When this yogi leaves the body, he meets with the space of awareness. For him, the propelling force of good or evil actions is exhausted. The king asked, Great Master, how does the fruition of the 3 kayas manifest for such a yogi? The master replied, Since the ground of dharmata lies beyond the domain of words and descriptions, the space-like continuity that is no thing whatsoever is named the fruition of Dharmakaya. Out of this space-like continuity that is Dharmakaya, the cloud-like Sambhogakayas appear adorned with the major and minor marks within the experience of bodhisattvas on the 10 levels. Like rain, the Nirmanakayas benefit whoever needs to be inspired in whichever way is necessary by means of boundless emanations. The Hidden Essence Tantra mentions this. Within the continuity of the empty sky, they take shape like rain clouds. By showering down as rain, they nurture the greenery and forests. Likewise, from the inconceivable Dharmakaya, the domain realized by the three yogas, appear the Sambhogakayas, the domain of the bodhisattvas of the greater vehicle. From there appear the Nirmanakayas, the domain of all fortunate beings. This is the way in which the fruition of the three kayas manifests. The master concluded with this instruction to the king. Your Majesty, understand this. There is no time to squander. Train in experiencing this profound nature of Dharmata. Even though you understand the profound meaning, do not stop performing conditioned virtuous deeds. Give whatever you do the seal of holding no concepts. If you reveal this teaching to others, it will become a basis for misconceptions. So do not propagate it, but conceal it as a terma. At the end of this age, King, you will meet with it again. Thus Padmasambhava sealed this with his spoken command. The king was overjoyed, and at that very time his awareness was liberated into its natural state. He was overwhelmed by gratitude to the master. This was the short path of secret mantra, the instruction for a great sinner to awaken to enlightenment before others. The five bardos. Namo Guru. The great master, known as the lotus-born, was not born through a womb, but sprang from a lotus flower. Freed from the terrors of death and transmigration, he had cut the flow of birth and death. His realization was equal to that of glorious Samantabhadra. It was this master whom Lady Tsogyal, the princess of Cargill, followed and served as attendant. Once, while staying at the Juniper Ridge of crystal pearls, she asked the master, "Great Master, sentient beings are caught in the four great rivers of birth, old age, sickness, and death because of failing to cross the bardo states. How many kinds of bardo states are there?" The master gave this instruction. Tsogyal, the sentient beings of the three realms of samsara, have not cut through the bardo states. Therefore they take rebirth and circle throughout the three realms. During the five kinds of bardo states, you should recognize the ultimate sphere during the bardo of this life, like a lost child reuniting with his mother. Clarify what is unclear by recognizing your nature during the bardo of samadhi, like a vain girl looking into a mirror. Connect habitual tendencies with samadhi during the bardo of dreaming, like the flow of a river. Continue experience during the bardo of birth and death, like reconnecting a broken water pipe. Connect with residual karma during the bardo of becoming, like lighting a lamp in a dark room. Unless you cut through these five bardos, you will find no chance to sever the root of samsara. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "During the bardo of this life, how does one attain certainty in recognizing the ultimate sphere, which is like a lost child reuniting with his mother?" The master replied, "To recognize the ultimate sphere during the bardo of this life is like when a lost child finds his own mother, and he recognizes her to be his own mother. In the same way, recognize your own nature to be Dharmakaya." There are three means for attaining certainty in this. First, establish Dharmakaya as the natural state through the unchanging empty essence. Second, establish wakefulness as the manifest state through unbiased personal experience. Third, establish original wakefulness as their non-duality through the great bliss of non-action. The first, to establish Dharmakaya as the natural state through the unchanging empty essence, has 7 qualities. To begin with, it is not produced by causes. Next, it does not perish through conditions, but is self-existing. Not created by others, it is insubstantial. Not a temporal occurrence, it is beyond permanence and nothingness. The second wakefulness, as the manifest state, has 2 aspects: the external manifestations of delusion and the inner manifestations of wakefulness. How do the external manifestations of delusion arise? Out of the self-knowing state of awakened mind, the unfabricated, natural state that is like the sky, appear the clouds of craving and grasping due to ignorance. Owing to this incidence, one enters a womb and incarnates in a body of aggregates. Hence the 5 elements appear, and from that arise the 5 poisonous emotions. From these 5 poisons manifest the 5 types of illness that then cause one to die. By dying, one circles through the 6 classes of beings. How do the inner manifestations of wakefulness appear? They appear as self-liberated, not held in mind, insubstantial, and free from clinging. Hence, ignorance dawns as awareness, the 5 poisons arise as the 5 wisdoms, and the 5 elements are in balance. By cutting through misconceptions about the 5 sense objects, you prevent clinging to the 5 bardos, recognize sickness and suffering to have subsided, turn the 5 negative forces into helpers, block the gates to the hells, and cross over the abyss of the 6 classes of beings, all at the same time. The third point is to establish original wakefulness as non-duality through the great bliss of non-doing. You may wonder whether or not Buddhas and sentient beings, nirvana and samsara, appearance and emptiness, have become separate. Buddhas and sentient beings have no duality of time as to before and after. Samsara and nirvana have no duality of identity as to good or evil. Appearance and emptiness have no duality in nature, since they are indivisible. They are, therefore, the great bliss of non-doing. At this point, it is important to be liberated through the pith instruction of the 4 liberations from clinging. Unbiased personal experience liberates you from the clinging of denigrating the extreme of emptiness. The unchanging empty essence liberates you from the clinging to the permanence of eternalism. Their indivisible unity liberates you from the clinging of alternating truth and falsehood. Their impartial ground liberates you from the clinging of abruptly falling into one-sidedness. Here is the instruction of practicing through the 6-fold recognition. Recognize appearances to be mind. Recognize mind to be empty. Recognize appearance and emptiness to be beyond duality. Recognize this non-duality to be great bliss. Recognize the great bliss to be non-thought. Recognize non-thought to be Dharmakaya. Now, here is the instruction of meeting with the Dharmata Mother through the 6-fold sealing. Give appearances the seal of emptiness. Seal emptiness with appearances. Seal both of them with the non-duality of appearance and emptiness. Seal this non-duality with great bliss. Seal the great bliss with non-thought. Give non-thought the seal of unchanging Dharmata. Here is how to resolve through the instruction of the 5-fold decision. Decide that Dharmakaya is primordially present in yourself, and therefore not something to seek or accomplish. Decide that pleasure and pain are dharmakaya, and therefore not something to reject or accept. Decide that dharmakaya neither arises nor ceases, and is therefore beyond cause and effect. Decide that it is beyond the reference points of is and is not, and therefore not subject to exaggeration and denigration. Decide that it is uncreated and continually present, and therefore not something to be produced by thought. Now, the qualities of realizing the view are the following. You resume the natural abode of wisdom and meet your Dharmata mother. Your conceptions naturally dissolve by recognizing the bliss of insightful action. You reach the natural perfection of knowledge. Your view is freed from limitations. By resuming the natural abode of wisdom, no matter how much teaching you hear, you understand that there is no further enhancement than the unity of appearance and emptiness. Recognizing and understanding this to be none other than yourself, you come to know this to be nothing other than your own experience. By recognizing what is to be as it is, you meet your Dharmata mother. While objects for your eyes appear as visual forms, the moment you experience them free of clinging, even though seen, your conceptions naturally dissolve. The moment you experience things in this way, original wakefulness, dharmata, and bliss are all found from within, and you comprehend the bliss of realized action. This instruction in the view of great confidence is also known as the view of the unchanging offspring of the victorious ones, as the basis for delusion that identifies demons and thieves, as the instruction for verifying the beginning and end of samsara, and as the instruction for recognizing your mind's nature as being dharmata. All these instructions in the view are like the example of a mother's single child who becomes lost and roams about. After the death of the child's father, the mother goes to another husband. Later, when the child is reunited with his mother, the mother recognizes her son, and the son recognizes his mother. Similarly, at the moment of realizing the nature of dharmata, you recognize that Buddhas and sentient beings both, samsara and nirvana both, as well as appearance and emptiness both, are indivisible from the very beginning as the single sphere of dharmata. To definitely resolve this during the bardo of this life is the instruction in recognizing the ultimate sphere and the instruction for the lost child reuniting with his mother. Thus he spoke. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, during the bardo of samadhi, how does one clarify the unclear mind? The master replied, to clarify the unclear mind like a vain girl looking into a mirror is the instruction in meditation. For example, just like the vain girl inspects the mirror morning, noon, and night, the yogi should look into his mind and train during the 3 times. For this, there are 2 points: how to position your body and how to place your attention. First, when doing a training session, keep your body straight and upright. Assume the posture of equanimity. Bend your head forward slightly. Lower your gaze to the angle of your nose tip. Touch your tongue to your palate. Cover your knees with your hands. During daily activities, combine the following instruction with walking, moving about, lying down, and sitting. Second, the way to place your mind is the great placement beyond something to be placed. In the continuity of realizing the view, leave your senses unbridled. Leave body and mind without artifice. Acknowledge without clinging. recognize Dharmakaya, but remain without holding it to be Dharmakaya. Train in being unmistaken. Train for a long while. Train uninterruptedly. Train joyfully. Being unmistaken means, in the continuity of realizing the view, to train in acknowledging what is, while not giving rise to holding it as that. If this is so, it is the state of unwavering equality. To accept what is means to acknowledge that there is bliss, wakefulness, thought-free awareness, and the play of wakefulness, while not holding that there is bliss, wakefulness, thought-free awareness, and the play of wakefulness. Thus, free of clinging awareness that does not hold anything to exist naturally dawns. There are 6 enemies to this type of meditation training: dullness and agitation, the 4 types of straying, and permanence and nothingness. If dullness occurs, to totally refrain from holding it in mind is known as the instruction in dissolving dullness and sluggishness into Dharmakaya. If that does not happen, then continue to train while rousing your energy. Agitation includes the very fear of being agitated. The thought, I must control this agitation, I must remain unperturbed, and so forth. Once you recognize that the agitation is your own mind, it is known as sealing agitation within Dharmata. Failing to see something that is agitated, something that must be stopped, kept, or purified, and recognizing this to be yourself, is known as bringing thoughts into Dharmata. That is how to overcome thoughts. If you cannot do that, here is the instruction in collecting the scattered state. Simply train in placing your mind in the continuity of its uncontrived essence. Moreover, while training, 4 kinds of straying will happen. Straying into flattened-out conception means that your mind strays into being oblivious. Straying into absent-minded shamatha means your mind goes stagnant so that you are unaware of the nature of Dharmata. Straying into a noticing frame of mind means you desire to maintain a state of not thinking. Straying into grating concepts means your mind remains troubled and withdrawn. These are the 4 kinds of straying. To clear away their faults, do not direct your mind at any of these ways of straying. Your essence is not permanent, since it is stamped with emptiness. It is not a nihilistic nothingness, since it is awake and unconfined. It is not something that becomes enlightened, since it remains as Dharmakaya itself. There is no fear of continuing in samsara, since samsara is liberated into Dharmakaya. Once thoughts are utilized as wakefulness and suffering dawns as wisdom, there is no thing to be purified. When you know how to practice in this way, you are unmistaken. Train in prolonging this. Without interruption, train delightedly. Once you have trained in this way, your former tendencies to cling diminish. By the power of this training, clarity, bliss, and the feeling of having no body will occur. Without this training, you will not cut through momentary deluded thinking, and you will not interrupt your former tendencies to cling. Therefore, train thoroughly in never separating your mind from Dharmata, just like a great banner unruffled by wind. Furthermore, just like a vain girl looks in the mirror to see if there might be any blemish on her face, always train by means of samadhi in inspecting whether there might be any flaw of dullness or agitation in your view and conduct. This was the instruction for training in the bardo of samadhi. Thus, he spoke. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, during the bardo of dreaming, how does one connect habitual tendencies with samadhi like the flow of a river? The master replied, this is the instruction in the conduct. Like the example of an unceasing river, it is the instruction in mingling into one your present state of samadhi with the mind at the time of dreaming. For this, there are 3 points. Mingling by means of instruction, mingling by means of activities, and mingling by means of the elements. First, for mingling by means of instruction, train in experiencing sleep as bliss and emptiness indivisible. This too has 3 points. Focus the awareness by drawing it in. Focus the body by bending the 4 limbs. Focus both, during the swarm of habitual tendencies, by never separating the confusion of dreams from the experience of blissful emptiness. When uninvolved in habitual tendencies, never separate the experience of being asleep from the experience of meditation training. When that is the case, you have mastered this bardo. For mingling by means of the elements, when you first approach sleep, this dissolution is earth dissolving into water. When consciousness begins to go under, it is water dissolving to fire. During this time, train in blissful emptiness. When consciousness has become hazy, it is fire having dissolved into wind. At this time as well, train in bliss indivisible from emptiness. When sleep has completely taken over, wind has dissolved into consciousness. At that time, train in the indivisible state of bliss and emptiness. When there is tranquility without dreams, it is consciousness having dissolved into lucid wakefulness. That is the time when you remain as serene, blissful emptiness, as the non-arising state free of thinking. When that is the case, you have mastered this bardo. For mingling by means of activities, focus intensely on the intention that I will recognize the dreaming as being dreams. Also, while practicing during the day, keep the notion of everything being dreamlike. Accept that all phenomena are dreams, and that all pleasure and pain is delusion. Bring to mind the previous meditation experience. Now, when your training has developed to the point where there is no difference between dreams and waking, then, since dreaming is similar to the bardo, you will be able to cut through the bardo states by having trained in the above meaning. Moreover, just like the flow of a river is uninterrupted, continue the training without break during daytime, dreams, and at all other times. This was stating the instruction on conduct during the bardo of dreaming. Thus he spoke. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, during the bardo of birth and death, how does one continue one's remaining karma like reconnecting a broken water pipe? The master replied, the instruction in continuing one's remaining karma during the bardo of birth and death, like reconnecting a broken water pipe, has 2 parts, being reminded by another incident, and the realized one reminding himself. The former is that one's master or dharma friends give the following reminder. Mind essence neither takes birth nor dies. It is your own mind. While earth is dissolving, your body cannot support itself and feels heavy. While earth dissolves into water, your exhalations are protracted and inhalations withdrawn. While water dissolves into fire, your mouth and nose dry out. Your exhalations and inhalations are both brief. While fire dissolves into wind, your consciousness grows unclear. While wind dissolves into consciousness, your breathing stops. This is the time when you should remind yourself to support your attention. Thus, concentrate both body and mind so as not to be overtaken by circumstances. So-called death is your own thinking. Though you part with the body of flesh and blood, mind is not something from which you can ever part. Remind yourself of the meaning of your former view and meditation training. This is the time when, like reconnecting a broken water pipe, after the former moment has passed, the power of your training will reconnect you with the following moment. That was the instruction on experience for continuing your familiarity with practice during the bardo of birth and death. Thus he spoke. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, during the bardo of becoming, what is the instruction in connecting with residual karma that is like lighting a lamp in a dark room? The Master replied, for this, if you are someone who is trained in a deity of secret mantra, you will appear in the form of the deity during the bardo, and thereby attain the level of a Mahamudra knowledge holder. If you are someone who has trained in the unmistaken nature of Dharmata, you will recognize the thought-free state as being Dharmakaya, and thereby attain Dharmakaya for yourself and others by manifesting as Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya to benefit beings. Moreover, the bardo of becoming is similar to dreaming after having fallen asleep. When your breathing stops, your consciousness immediately arrives in the bardo. In this case, without changing the bardo state, your former tendencies make you think that you have a body, so that, unless brought to an ultimate realization, you fall into the abyss of the 6 classes of beings. If you do interrupt the bardo, whether you bring a deity or dharmata to mind through the power of your training, you will blockade the cities of the 6 classes of beings. As you have no senses of flesh and blood, you will become whatever is brought to mind, and thus disrupt samsara. Like the example of lighting a lamp in a dark room, whenever the yogi's mind parts from his body, he will not remain in the bodily form of the previous life, but instead, the very moment his mind separates from the body, attain Dharmakaya, which thus is known as awakening to Buddhahood in the bardo. Furthermore, the 6 super-knowledges appear, the 5 disturbing emotions are abandoned, and dawn as the 5 wisdoms. The 84,000 Dharma doors are simultaneously manifest, and you act for the welfare of beings through Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. Just like lighting a lamp in a dark room, you will awaken to Buddhahood in a single life, which is known as the spontaneously perfected fruition. This was the instruction on the 5 bardos given by the Master Padmasambhava to Lady Tsogyal. May it meet with the destined one, with the karmic link. It was written down at the Juniper Ridge of crystal pearls on the 2nd day of the last autumn month on the year of the snake. Seal of treasure, seal of concealment, seal of entrustment. The treasure of the lotus crystal cave, the direct instructions of Sri Singha. When I, Guru Padma of Vajrayana, was 8 years of age, my faith awakened. I went before Guru Sri Singha, offered gifts, and requested teachings. My Guru said, train your mind in the Tripitaka. Therefore, in the eastern direction of the Vajra throne, I studied the sutras. In the southern direction, I studied the Vinaya. In the western direction, I studied Abhidhamma, and in the northern direction I studied the paramitas. Then I went before Sri Singha, offered gifts, and studied the entire Tripitaka. I asked him to please accept me. My guru replied, "Son, you must first train your mind in the teachings of secret mantra." Thus, in the country of Udayana, I studied the 3 yogas. In the country of Sahor, I studied Mahayoga Tantra and the mind section of the Great Perfection. In the country of Niranjara, I studied Kilaya. In the country of Singha, I studied Padma Maheshvara. In the country of Vasudharma, I studied Kriya. In the country of Nepal, I studied Yamantaka. In the country of Merutse, I studied Mamo. At the Vajra throne, I studied the 8 Heruka sadhanas. And in the country of Lancha, I studied Guhya Samaja, consisting of the 4 sections of Father Tantra and Mother Tantra. Having realized all phenomena to be merely dreamlike, illusory, unreal, and false, I went before the Guru, who was expounding the Dharma to a gathering of 5,500 people, which included a number of kings. When I arrived, Guru Sri Singha said, "What do you want, novice?" I replied, "I have studied the teachings of secret mantra extensively. Now I would like to receive teaching from you." Guru Sri Singha said, "You are a learned man who has first studied the Tripitaka and second studied the secret mantra. Now let this gathering disperse." Then he continued, "You understand that all phenomena are false, but this does not help anything. This understanding that everything is dreamlike, illusory, unreal, and false should be assimilated in your being. Without taking it to heart, it becomes mere platitude. This does not result in enlightenment." I said, "If that is so, then please give me a teaching on taking it to heart." The Guru replied, "First make a mandala offering." I made a mandala of 1 measure of gold dust and offered it to him. Sri Singha said, "Now remain in front of me. Keep your feet in the cross-legged position, your hands in equanimity, and your backbone erect. This is the key point of body. Direct your eyes towards the expanse of sky. This is the key point of the channels. Tighten your lower wind and suppress your upper wind. This is the key point of wind. Visualize an A from a red bindu in the Nirmana chakra at your navel center. Visualize a white bindu from a bum in the Mahasukha chakra of your crown center. This is the key point of bindu. Focus your mind on the bum being melted by the blazing fire from the A, after which the white and red bindu mingle together in the Dharma chakra of your heart center. This is the key point of mind. Let the white and red bindu become smaller and smaller. And finally, do not keep anything in mind whatsoever. This is the key point of perfect and complete enlightenment." I practiced in this way, and some experiences arose, such as no sensation of body, no sensation of the inhalation and exhalation of breath, the feeling of being able to move unimpeded through appearances, and the feeling that I was immortal. When these experiences occurred, I felt proud and related them to the Guru. The Guru said, "It is extremely foolish to take pride in being touched by a master's blessings and regard that as enough. Now go to a solitary place and do not create any mental fabrications whatsoever." I went to a solitary place and for 1 year tried not to create any mental fabrications whatsoever. Some experiences arose, such as the feeling that Emptiness is appearance. Appearance is emptiness. Appearance and emptiness are indivisible. There is no duality regarding Buddhas and sentient beings. There will be no evil deed committed, even if I were to engage in unvirtuous acts. There will be no benefit, even if I were to engage in the 10 virtues. Regarding these as satisfactory, I related them to the Guru. He said, "It is foolish to be satisfied with meditation experience. If you think that appearance and emptiness are indivisible, you should be detached from appearances. Are you? If you think that Buddhas and sentient beings are indivisible, you should honor and serve sentient beings to the same degree as you would the Buddhas. Do you do that? If you think, I will have no karmic ripening even if I engage in the 10 unvirtuous acts, you should be able to accept the 10 unvirtuous acts of others directed towards you, even if it might result in your death. Can you do that? If you think, even if I were to engage in the 10 virtues, there would be no benefit, you should not have any sense of joy when you are benefited by others who are practicing the 10 virtues, even if your own life is saved. Do you? Now go again to a solitary place and let your body remain like a corpse. Let your voice remain like that of a mute, and let your mind remain like the sky. I then went to a solitary place and practiced in that way, whereby 8 experiences arose. An experience of clarity, utterly lucid without any inside or outside, manifesting as wakefulness and emptiness without difference, whether my eyes were open or closed. An experience of emptiness, totally open and empty with no clinging to inside or outside, and with the mind not dwelling on anything whatsoever. An experience of bliss, which was like melting butter, and became totally free and exhilarating, with no thought of having a body or a mind. A state without clinging to various sense perceptions, yet still tainted by absent-mindedness. A state of wakefulness, being like the sun shining in the sky. An experience of the body being like mist, lacking both object and substance of physical action. A feeling of recognizing neither self nor others. A feeling that all sentient beings must be aware of the meaning of mind essence to the same extent as I. Delighted with these experiences, I related them to the Guru. He said, "There are 3 occasions in the great perfection: the occasion of spontaneous presence, the occasion of inconceivability, and the occasion of great bliss. Of these 3, your experiences are the occasion of spontaneous presence. After having remained in freshness, the inconceivability and the great bliss will manifest. Samsara is beguiling, and the mind is gullible. Do not be attached to meditation experience, but expand your mind." "How is one supposed to expand one's mind?" I asked. Guru Sri Singha replied, "There is no difference between Buddhas and sentient beings other than their scope of mind. What is called mind, consciousness, or awareness is of a single identity. The mind of a sentient being is limited. The mind of a Buddha is all-pervasive. So develop a scope of mind that is like the sky, which has no limit to the east, west, north, or south." I then went to a solitary place and developed a scope of mind that was like space, whereby these convictions arose. This mind, without any projection or dissolution of thoughts, remaining exactly as it is placed, is an utterly one-pointed wakefulness and emptiness. This is precisely what is called one-pointedness. This mind is a complete absence of clinging to substantial things, a total openness with mind not dwelling on anything whatsoever. This is precisely what is called simplicity. A feeling of, what else can there be? In whatever way I look, it is the same. There is nothing to abandon or accomplish. This is precisely what is called one taste. A feeling of, what else is there to search for? This is it, whether one meditates or not. There is nothing whatsoever to practice. There is no thing to be cultivated through meditation. This is precisely what is called non-meditation. I then had the powerful experiences of understanding. There cannot be anything beyond this. The two form bodies, Rupakaya, originate from Dharmakaya, so these manifold manifestations of sights and sounds are like a flame in its light. There is no preceding impulse for the inhalation and exhalation of breath. Without creating anything, manifold expressions still manifest. This is unchanging like the essence of space. Not even the slightest dualistic mind is occurring. This is exactly it. I had experiences of feeling vivid clarity, total purity, complete openness, all-pervasiveness, utterly encompassing, totally free, and completely diffused. The experience of clarity felt like the sun rising in the sky. The experience of emptiness felt like space, and the experience of bliss felt like an ocean. I had a variety of experiences that felt like the waves on the ocean or like the clouds in the sky. When these occurred, I related them to the Guru. Guru Sri Singha said, "The natural condition of things is devoid of something to be experienced. So what are you experiencing? What is it that experiences? What are you so elated about? I myself do not experience anything. Have you achieved something superior to that? Your experiences are an achievement that differs from that of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Fixating on having an experience should be recognized as being seduced by Mara. All your experiences are contrived and result from fabrication. They will still come and go. They will not enable you to face difficulties. They are but a blanket of good concepts. You have not untied the knot of conceptual thinking. It is like having a latent sickness within. You might be blissful at present, but it will not help. Since you have not penetrated to the core, the zombie of confusion still walks around. If you regard meditation experience as paramount, you cannot resolve the view while submerged in concepts. If you allow yourself to become fascinated by a fraction of samadhi, thinking that there is nothing higher, and regard it as the perfection of samadhi, you will not cut through the activity of conceptual thinking. You will not exhaust the layers of meditation experience, and the dirt of ignorance will not be purified. For each meditation experience, there is a temporary fascination. Perceiving them to be the only truth, you have become obscured. By obscuring the reality that is utterly free from attachment and transition, the instance of attachment and transition has turned these blissful results of yours into nothing but straying. If you cling to clarity and regard it as the highest, you will achieve the highest state in the realm of form. If you cling to the emptiness experience of non-thought and regard it as the highest, you will achieve the highest state in the formless realm. If you cling to bliss and regard it as the highest, you will attain nothing but the highest state in the realm of desire. However, none of these will result in attaining unexcelled enlightenment, the supreme siddhi of Mahamudra. If that is so, how should I train? I asked. Bring forth your original mind, then come back to see me, he replied. Well, into what should I put effort? I asked. All your effort should be put exactly into effortlessness, he answered. How should I practice samadhi without effort? I asked. Noble son, do not hold temporary experiences to be the highest. Do not cling to them. Do not watch objects, and do not watch the mind. Do not get involved in a lot of things, and do not give rise to desires. Do not harbor needs, and do not entertain despair. Leave your mind exactly as it is. Let your mind rest like the center of space, he said. I then went to a solitary place and practiced exactly as he told me to. My previous experiences became nothing but layers of concepts and were completely extinguished. I realized natural mind, totally unobscured by any defects or virtues, utterly free from a basis of anything to be meditated upon or anything to cause confusion. I realized that if this natural mind were cultivated, nothing whatsoever would be produced, and if not cultivated, there would be no confusion. I realized it to be natural mind devoid of any defect, naked and vivid wakefulness. Realizing this utter openness, totally fresh, the same taste of all the phenomena of samsara and nirvana, I related this to the Guru. The Guru said, the original nature, the uncompounded Dharmakaya, is exactly this pure and naked natural mind, devoid of something to be cultivated or something which causes confusion. Now, do not obscure yourself with further craving. Bring the old craver to the state of desirelessness. By sustaining a state known as never cultivating and never apart, never separated from the nature beyond cultivation, you will attain the supreme and common siddhis. Now, is there anything else bothering you? There is nothing bothering me, as I have no faults or regrets concerning my samaya, I replied. Are you displeased? He asked. I am just a little displeased, I answered. If you are displeased, you have hope. If you are pleased, you have fear. If you have hope and fear, you have dualistic clinging. That will hinder the non-dual wisdom of great bliss, the undefiled fruition. Without thinking this is either a fault or a virtue, stick to the practice of non-duality. From now on, just continue without coming back to see me. I then practiced in the town of Vajrayana and did not have the slightest thought of asking for teachings, of offering my experience, of virtue or non-virtue, or of good and evil. I simply went wherever I went and sat however I sat. I became just like a corpse. Then the Guru arrived and said, Aren't you going to prostrate to me? Aren't you going to present your realization to me? This is not prostrating, and I do not have even a tip of a hair's worth of understanding to offer you. It is now like the trace of a bird flying in the sky, I replied. The Guru said, That realization cannot change. Do not abandon it. Without separating from that realization, go wherever you wish. Keep your conduct in accordance with the Tripitaka. Keep your meditation in accordance with secret mantra. Keep your view in accordance with the great perfection. Fulfill the aims of sentient beings like a wish-fulfilling jewel. Sustain numerous worthy disciples. Although you have no desires, always make offerings to the gurus, yidams, and dakinis. You will become one whom the 8 classes of gods and demons attend like a servant. Saying this, he departed. Thereafter, I took to heart the fact that all things are dreamlike and illusory, and that the mind itself is beyond birth and death. I had visions of the deities of the 8 Haruka sadhanas. The 8 classes of gods and demons became my servants, and I wandered through many Indian regions benefiting beings. Later, when King Trisong Detsen was building Samye, the 8 classes of gods and demons were causing obstacles. I told them, "It is not good to make obstacles, for the king's intention is as excellent as gold." The gods and demons retorted, "Why don't you come here yourself, master?" So I went in person to the land of snows, and on the way I met with the messengers. I, Padma of Udayana, followed Guru Sri Singha. This, his final instruction, liberated me, Padma. Though not liberated by the Tripitaka or secret mantra, I was liberated by this secret teaching. May all the worthy ones also be liberated through this. May this final and direct instruction of Guru Sri Singha meet with a worthy person who possesses former training. This is concealed in the lotus crystal cave. I entrust it to you, Shampo. In case an unworthy person comes, there is no instruction like this in the world. Samaya, seal, 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 seal of entrustment, seal of secrecy, E.T.